Welcome to Sparks of History, where Jewish history and world history meets. Today, we are very pleased to have with us Professor Kathryn Olmsted. Professor Olmsted serves as Interim Chair, Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies at the University of California, Davis, and previously chaired the university's History Department. Professor Olmsted has won numerous awards, including Fellowship Center for Research in the Arts, Social Sciences, and Humanities, the University of Cambridge, Fellowship in Clare Hall, also at the University of Cambridge, and the Herbert Young Society Fellowship at the University of California, Davis. Professor Olmsted has authored a number of award-winning books, including Right Out of California, The Big Business Roots of Modern Conservatism, Real Enemies, Conspiracy Theories in American Democracy, World War I to 9/11, Red Spy Queen, a biography of Elizabeth Bentley, and Challenging the Secret Government, the Post-Watergate investigations of the CIA and the FBI. And today, we will be discussing Professor Olmsted's The Newspaper Axis, 6 Press Barons Who Enabled Hitler. And I urge all of our listeners and viewers, as I did, to simply go on to Amazon, click a button, comes to your house for free with free delivery, and it's really a wonderful and important work. And we'll get right to it. Again, thank you so much, Professor, for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Just to get started, a little bit about your background and how you became interested in what you call the newspaper axis.
Well, as you just detailed, I've written a few books on U.S. political and cultural history in the 20th century. That's what I've specialized in. And my book that was published in 2015, Right Out of California, looked at the right-wing resistance to Franklin Roosevelt's social reforms in California, and particularly the labor struggles in California. And so while I was researching that book, I became really interested in William Randolph Hearst, who was arguably the most important media baron in U.S. history, who owned 28 newspapers in the United States in the 1920s and 30s, and was able to shape the political climate more than any other media figure. And Hearst in California in particular, he owned 4 of the 5 top-selling newspapers. So in writing about California in the 30s, I got more and more interested in Hearst and started thinking about writing a book about the right-wing media in the 1930s and how so many of these newspaper owners had fought against Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal. And then as I started researching that proposed book, though, I discovered that what I found really interesting was not so much their stance on domestic politics, which was unsurprising that they were very rich men who opposed higher taxes. But instead, what was really interesting was their stance on foreign policy, that I had not read anything about, how almost universally opposed to an internationalist foreign policy the media barons of the 1930s were. So then I started doing work on American media barons, and I discovered that there was cooperation across the Atlantic between newspaper owners in the United States and those in the UK. And so it became a transnational project.